I want to talk to you about 3 reasons why motivation will not help you in this business. Okay, so oftentimes when we're motivated to do something, we are motivated due to a goal that we're trying to receive. You take a class to get extra knowledge on something. After you complete it, you've got what you've wanted, and you don't take that class again. Or you're learning something new, or you're reading a book, you're motivated to find something out, and then you move on to the new thing. That is not going to help you in your surplus funds business, and let me explain why. So let's say that you're taking a class and you want to get an A in the class. You develop certain habits to be able to get that A in the class. You study, you sit in the front of the class, you take notes, you do whatever you have to do, ask the professor, learn the way of the test, do whatever you have to do to be able to be successful in that class, and you get an A. You've developed cues that have helped you get that A in the class. Now you're in business and you're hanging around a lot of people that are not in business, people in your colleagues, people at work, wherever it is, your people you know every day, your neighbors. And when you say you want to work for yourself, people kind of look at you and they say, okay, and they kind of give you that weird look, and it's like you're talking Greek or you're talking some sort of foreign language to them, and they act like you don't know what you're talking about. What you have to do is you have to be able to make this into your everyday life. So in surplus funds, the way I'm successful is I make a number of phone calls each and every single day. And I have to chase leads down continuously. You've seen in video after video that I've given. So if I was motivated to get one deal, and I made those habits into getting that one deal, maybe I have 10 leads and I call all 10 and say I get the one deal. That's great. But I've met that motivation and I'm not motivated to move on to the second or third deal. If I want to make this into a lifelong business, like I challenge you to do, think about never reaching that one deal. You're always trying to get one deal. You wake up every morning, you're unemployed, and you have to get that one more deal. And you do whatever you have to do to get that deal. And you make that into your everyday cues. You make it obvious. So that's the first thing I want to say, is that you have to make this into your everyday practice in everyday life. You're trying to create a business. You're trying to start something that we're taught to go to school, get good grades, get a 9-to-5 job, have a family, never spend time with our kids, never spend time with the ones that we love, and we work ourselves until we retire. Hopefully you have enough money in your 401ks, your Roth IRAs, or whatever it is that you have, which building up your retirement accounts is good. But how about creating a business that you could put family first, and your business, and you can have them work where you could take your kids to school, you could spend some extra time with your spouse, you could do the things that you want to do and still be able to work your business. And that's going against the grain. You're an outlier, and you're doing something that the normal person doesn't do. So another huge thing that you have to do is not be motivated, but get into that culture. And the way I would challenge you to get in that culture is find a group of people that are like in Warriors. We have people that are in a Facebook group, and someone who texts is like, hey, I work in an insurance company. And we just had this text recently, like, I work in an insurance company job 9 to 5, and I'm really trying to make this business. When would be a good time for me to make phone calls? Well, over half of our warriors who've been successful have worked 9 to 5 jobs and have had to make side phone calls, evening phone calls, weekend phone calls, have had to go to other places. So you need to build yourself up, because if you go and you ask someone that at work, like when I was teaching, if I'd walked up and asked another teacher, hey, when would be a good time to do this? I'd be looked at like, okay, he's talking Greek, or he's weird, and people got weird. When you work your own business and you do your own side hustle, people get very weird towards you. They treat you differently. You're not one of them anymore. It's just it's hard to explain, but you're an outcast of society. So you need to surround yourself with like-minded people in a Facebook group. Ask questions. Let people know where you're at. Get an accountability partner, which I've talked about accountability partners in a previous video, and I challenge you to go back and just watch that. But the first one, as I talked about, is making it an everyday practice, really making it obvious. Like you walk into your room, and if you have the video games and all the gear there, and that's what you do every day, I guarantee you, even if you tell yourself that you're going to do your business, you walk in that room, you're going to do your everyday habits that you've taught yourself how to do. It's like you walk in the room and it's dark. What do? You turn on the light. Do you think about turning on the light? No, you just turn it on. Well, if you do video games every day in your den, and you're going to start working the business in your den, and you go and you sit down right where you do the video games, your mind, the adrenaline in your mind starts leaning toward the video games, and you get this anxiety toward it, and you're motivated to go toward that, and then you get mad at yourself, and it's this fight that you're doing. So it's training yourself into doing this into an everyday practice is the first thing that you've got to be able to do in this business. Secondly is you have to be able to surround yourself with like-minded people. Get involved in groups. Ask people what they're doing. Ask people how they got success. Join a YouTube group that has 100,000 followers and ask the person, what did you do to get this? Join a Facebook group that has members that are doing what you're doing, whatever business it's in, and ask them, how did you get to be this successful? What did you do? Did you work? Have you always done this? Because most people that are successful, they start off working and then they get to the point where they can break away from the 9-to-5 job. And don't get me wrong, when you're in Warriors or whatever it is that you're in, like with me, I work a 9-to-5 job. I just don't work the hours 9 to 5. I choose and I get to pick my hours. Doesn't mean I get to wake up, and I always say this, I hear people say, like, when I see the goals that people want to come through, I'll get some people that'll come across and they'll say, I want to be able to wake up and sit on the chair and eat pizza. Well, if you really want to be able to do that, and I would not want that lifestyle every day, I would say win the lottery. I mean, that would be that lifestyle, and you're probably going to lose it before you get it. If you really want to develop a habit-forming, life-changing business, get involved and surround yourself in a culture that's going to be like you. So if you're really serious about getting started in this business, the third challenge I would give you is, instead of being motivated, sit down and write down your schedule of what it is that you're doing right now. Because a lot of people say they don't have time to be able to work this, or they can't find the time to work this. I guarantee you that you have time. So, and if you say I don't, carry a journal with you, and when you go off to work, write down what you're doing at work. Now, obviously, if you work from 9 to 5, that time's probably going to be gone. But if you have a free time, and I did this, from like 12 to 12:30 is your lunch hour. Can you pull leads? Can you do something on that lunch hour? Can you work? Or can you make it, like for me, I was teaching, so I was getting off at roughly just before 3 every single day. I would use my lunch hour sometimes to make sure that I could be out the door at 3 o'clock and not there any later. So can you use your time more effectively in other areas to free up your time later? And I guarantee you, how much time do you spend on the internet? How much time do you spend on Facebook? How much time do you spend looking at other avenues and wishing you could be like something? So write down your schedule. Come up with a time that you can start working your business. And I know in surplus funds, there's a time where you're actually finding leads and you're farming data, and then there's a time where you're actually making calls. And you could do that together. You could do it separately. I know, like for some people that have very lengthy jobs, what they'll do is they'll wake up in the morning and it's too early to call people, so they start farming leads and getting the data, and then later on in the afternoon that day they can call those leads that they're getting. But you've got to be able to divvy up your time. I would come up with a business plan that you're going to start making this a habit, and you might have to start saying no to certain things that you do. Like, do you go to happy hour a couple times a week? And I know right now we're in COVID, we're in this pandemic, but do you Zoom with people? Are you jumping on party rooms or party channels, whatever it is that you're doing? Can you stop that? Can you start working the business? But you have to be able to take responsibility for your actions, your life, where you're at. You have to be able to start taking responsibility for your schedule, writing this out, writing out what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. Then when you hit a bump in the road, you're now surrounded with successful people. And I always try to surround myself with people that are more successful than I am. Always try to get people that are doing more business than I am, that I can ask some questions to. You can now go to them and say, hey, you know what? I've tried 30 is my magic number. If you've tried 30 people and not one of them's picked up the phone, you're doing something wrong. If you've made 30 contacts and you don't have some deals, you're doing something wrong. In fact, with 30 contacts, you should have minimum 3 deals, preferably double that, more like 6 or 7 deals. So you're developing your marketing plan, you're getting this, you're writing this out, and then you jump onto the Facebook groups, you jump onto the other social media that you're surrounded with like-minded people like you are. They're doing the same things that you have. Like I said, I always like to surround myself with people that are more successful than I am, people that have done more deals than me, people that have left their jobs and are working, people that have to continuously work. And let me tell you, when you start working for yourself, people get different even more, and because you have more responsibilities, everybody wants a piece of your time. Like for me, I know when I started working for myself, everyone wanted to take me out to lunch, and at first it's like, okay, great, everyone wants to take me out to lunch, this is awesome. But then as you go, literally I was finding that I was having to sit in the office later. It was affecting times with family, what have you. So you learn how to take your time and control it, and that's what you're doing right now with your schedule. Come up with a business plan of when you're going to write out your leads, when you're going to call them, when you're going to follow up. And that's the biggest thing. I mean, if you take anything away from this about motivation being dead, you've got to have a before, during, and after. Before is when you're getting the data that you're going to be calling. The during is when you're actually calling, you're sending emails, you're sending letters out to your data. And the after, and I talked about this in many previous videos, you've got to follow up with your clients continuously, because there's so many scams and so much hassle and do this and do that, and con artists out there. There's a con artist around every single corner. You have to be able to know how to be able to work your clients, win their trust, and get it. So and make this into where you're not motivated. It's like I talked about. You walk in the room, you turn on the light, you get home from work, and you just go to your business and you start doing it. You're not motivated to do it, you're doing it, okay? And you're joining your groups and you're motivated. And then you find yourself, from asking for advice, you find yourself actually giving people advice, or you see someone else's post and you're like, wow, they're actually doing the same thing I'm doing, or I had that situation, or wow, I haven't hit that yet, but how would I deal with that if I did? And you're going to find your mindset changing, your and what I call habits, your everyday habits, they're going to become natural, where when people tell me, oh, you're so good on the phone, no, I'm really not that good on the phone. I have just learned that I have to be able to get on the phone and communicate with other people. Hey, I hope this video was good. I hope it was useful. Do me a favor, if you want to subscribe to my channel, click the button below to subscribe and give me a like, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.